Hey there, welcome to the weekly podcast. I have an exciting message I want to share with you. It's a message that I have a lot of experience with, and that is storms. Going through storms and coming out on the other side stronger. That's the goal. You know, it's so true that we're either in a storm right now, we are headed for a storm, or we're coming out of a storm. Now, I'm not trying to depress you or discourage you. I really do want to motivate you. I just want you to know that you're not alone, that you are not alone in this storm. You know, I've received emails from some of you just this week telling me that you lost your job and your car at the same time. Other emails have said that Satan has attacked your marriage and your finances all at the same time. And you know, when we go through storms like this and challenges and tough times, Satan has a way of making you feel like the loneliest person in the world. He also has a way of making you feel like everything is hopeless, like you just seriously cannot see a way out of this storm. But I want you to know that he's a liar. He's a liar. He tries to intimidate you, deceive you, but you have to learn to fight back. And you know, it's what you do in this storm that determines how quickly you come out. There's a scripture I want to read to you from Psalms 86:7, and it says, "In the day of trouble and in the day of my storm, I will call upon you and you will answer me." So God, you know, David wrote this, but he's just saying, Lord, I'll call upon you in the storm and you'll answer me. And that's what I want you to know, is that God cares about everything you're going through. Even if you're the one who created the storm, you caused all this problem yourself, he still cares and he still wants to help you get out of it. You know, I was going through a storm years ago. I mean, I've been through storms since then, but years ago I was going through a pretty intimidating storm at that time. And it wasn't a rainstorm or a thunderstorm. It was a hellstorm. Hell, hellstorm. And I truly felt hopeless. Like I can't even describe to you how miserable I was and how Satan was having a heyday with my mind, just tormenting me with just, life is over, my vision's over, my marriage is over, my family's messed up, my finances are messed up. Everything seemed to be messed up all at once. And during that time, I began listening to a message called Steady in the Storm. I was drawn to that word storm because that's what I was feeling. And in that message, the minister said this statement. He said, I want to compare what pilots go through when they encounter storms when they're up in the sky. I want to compare that to what we go through in our everyday life when a storm hits you. And he said, one of the questions that a pilot is asked when he encounters a storm is this: where were you headed before the storm hit? In other words, never lose sight of your original destination. And that's the words that I want to ring in your spirit this whole month. We're going to be talking about where were you headed before this storm hit? Before this storm hit your mind, hit your marriage, hit your body, hit your finances, your relationships, whatever it is. Where were you headed before the storm hit? And, you know, just like that pilot, whatever he's going through, he hits turbulence, he may lose altitude, you know, everything may black out, but he has to keep his original destination in sight. Well, you know, I grew up with a dad who traveled all over the world, and I mean, being on that many planes constantly, week after week, you can imagine he encountered a lot of storms in the sky. Well, you know, there were times that the storm would be so bad that I can remember my dad calling home and he'd say, you know, it looks like I'm going to have to stay at this airport for a while. Or he even had to spend the night in Tokyo one time because of the weather. Just different things like that. But, you know, not one time in all those emergency landings did my dad ever call home and say, you know, looks like we landed in Duluth, Minnesota, emergency landing, and I'm not going to be home ever. No, he finally, you know, the storm passed and he got back in the plane and headed for his original destination, Dallas-Fort Worth. Well, I believe that's what God is saying to you. No matter what you've been through, how bad the storm has been, you can't lose sight of God's original plan for your life. You can't lose sight of that destination, that goal, that dream that you have on the inside of you that maybe right now it seems hopeless that it would ever happen. Never lose sight of your original destination. Well, one of the things that the pilots are asked or taught during that time you're encountering rough weather, turbulence, storms have hit. One of the ways that they're going to get to their original destination is they must stay in communication with the control tower. In other words, they never take that headset off. This headset, it's their lifeline. This is what causes them to, they hear from headquarters who can see the big picture. That control tower has this monitor, this screen, and they can see what that pilot can't see. They see the big picture. And that control tower will communicate with that pilot and tell him, where to turn, where to go, how to avoid a mountain, how to avoid another plane they're going to crash into, how to find that open space in the skies and lead them to safety. Well, the worst thing a pilot could ever do is lose communication with headquarters. And God is your control tower. He's the one who sees the big picture of your life. He sees the beginning from the end. And He's the one who can maneuver you and guide you and lead you out of that storm into clear skies. But it's going to take you putting that headset on and staying in touch with God. And when you're going through a storm, the easiest thing in the world is to distance yourself from God and to just be like, I don't need God. He doesn't care about me. Look what I'm going through anyway. But that is the worst thing you could possibly do. That's no different than that pilot throwing that headset off and saying, I don't need the control tower. I can fly alone. You need God because storms can deplete you. They can drain you. They can try to take spiritual life from you. So I want to challenge you this week. Get in touch with God. Cry out to Him. Like Psalm said, you call upon Him and He will answer you. Don't ever think that just maybe because you caused the storm, that God won't listen to your cries. Maybe you didn't cause the storm. No matter what the situation, He loves you and He wants to talk to you and He wants to lead you out of it. So set time aside this week to just talk to the Lord, call out to Him, and depend on Him to get you out of this storm. So we're going to continue this next week on where were you headed before the storm hit.